In this video, I'm going to talk about writing trumpet parts and what you could do to make your trumpet parts much better. There's a lot to consider when writing trumpet parts. The two main things I'm going to talk about in this video are range and endurance. Those are both super important, but before I get into it, I just want to encourage you to hit that subscribe button, ring the bell icon, and check out my Patreon. I am a corporate shill. For those of you that don't know much about me, I'm a professional arranger and composer based in Los Angeles. But in addition to that, I'm also a professional trumpeter, which makes me kind of in a unique position to talk about this exact topic. When we're talking about writing trumpet parts, what makes the trumpet unique among the instruments in the jazz ensemble is, of course, endurance. So when I'm talking about endurance, I'm talking about how much fatigue you're putting on the player while they're playing your part. Anyone that's run a band will know that usually the trumpet section sounds amazing in the first half of the rehearsal, and as we're getting towards the end of the rehearsal, they start missing stuff, taking stuff down, or just, not being able to play altogether. So there's actually things you can do to set your trumpet players up for success, and in this video I'm going to talk about those strategies. No, in order to talk about endurance, we got to talk about range. I like to break up the trumpet's range into 3 different sections. And by the way, I'm going to be talking in concert pitch throughout this video. Keep that in mind. Okay, so if you look at trumpet range in a arranging textbook, they'll let you know that it goes from a low E below the treble clef staff, a bunch of ledger lines, or in trumpet pitch, that would be a low F sharp, but a low E, all the way up to an F above the treble clef. If you're looking at a jazz book. If you're looking at a classical book, they'll say C above the treble clef. But they're wrong, it's F above the treble clef. For professional jazz band, let me clarify. So the trumpet doesn't sound the same in all of those ranges, and in fact, you probably shouldn't even be writing parts in big chunks of that range. So let me explain. The first range group we're going to talk about is the very low range on the trumpet, that low E up to, let's say, a C below treble clef. And my recommendation is, with the exception of some extreme circumstances, don't write trumpets in that range, period. I mean, first of all, they're going to be lower than your trombones, and the trombones in that range speak great, and trumpets don't speak very well in that range. Their tone characteristic is very different. A really skilled trumpeter can play below the staff and make it beautiful, but it's going to be exceedingly soft and exceedingly mellow in a way that won't cut through other instruments. While there are corner cases where you might have a soloist play really low below the staff, in general, start your trumpet writing, above a concert C. Maybe concert C is your lowest note. Then there's the mid-range. And the mid-range and the high range kind of overlap, but the mid-range is where the trumpet speaks the best and the easiest. It's going to have the least endurance fatigue on your players. And so I'm talking starting down at that C below the staff and going up basically to the top of the treble clef staff, maybe an F on the top. And that is where the trumpet plays the most comfortably, and it speaks really well in that range. The last range, which is the money range. The high range on trumpet is where it's going to speak really well as a lead trumpet over the rest of the band. In my experience, that starts maybe a D towards the top of the treble clef staff, a 4th line D, if we're counting from the bottom, all the way up to the top of the trumpet range. So an F above the staff. That's where it speaks really well as a lead trumpet. If I'm writing for anything besides a professional ensemble, it's important that you don't go even that high. For myself, in the last couple of years of arranging, I've started to not write at the very top of the trumpet range because you never know who's going to end up playing the part. I've found a good top of the range when I'm writing for clients is a concert C. And you can pretty much write all music without going above a concert C on your lead trumpet part. And that same range works for a good high school band. Pretty much every good high school band is going to have at least one trumpeter that can go up to a concert C, which is, by the way, a high D for those that are keeping score. Then if I'm writing for a intermediate or beginning high school ensemble or an advanced middle school band, I write up to a G on top of the staff. In the lead trumpet part, only. And if I end up with a unison line that goes that high, I'll put 1 up, 3 down. At this point, I want to debunk a myth right now, which I've seen a lot of parts that make this mistake. Trumpets need rest. Playing in the mid or low range of the trumpet is not the same as actual rest. Okay, so let me give you an example. One of the toughest lead trumpet parts I've ever had the pleasure of playing, or displeasure, is the Thad Jones chart called 2U. By the way, if you haven't heard 2U, I'm jealous. Go check it out right now and experience the joy that is hearing 2U for the first time. That's a challenging chart, but it's worth the effort. That said, it's one dense page. So I don't remember the exact length of the chart, but it fits on one published sheet of sheet music. But it's a slow tempo thing and has no rests on the lead trumpet part. I think maybe there's a 7-bar rest right before the shout chorus, but that's not enough. Although the lead trumpet is playing in the mid-range for the rest of the chart, I have never been more exhausted than when I had to play that first trumpet part when I was at Cal State Long Beach. High range is not the only way to zap a trumpeter's endurance. Writing too many bars of music in a row does even better of a job, honestly. And to kind of illustrate this point, I want to look at 2 of my own charts. I want to show you first what a good first trumpet part looks like. This is the lead trumpet part for my composition, Biscuits for Doggos. You might have seen our virtual performance. But if you take a look, notice the lead trumpet is never playing for more than 8 or 10 bars at a time. And then every time they play, it's flanked on both sides by even more rest than the amount of time that they played. That's what a trumpet part should look like most of the time. And by contrast, let's take a look at 2 for 1. Now, my band plays 2 for 1. Mitch Cooper plays first trumpet on both times we recorded it, and he sounded excellent both times. But, I mean, first, he's a virtuoso. And second of all, it really puts him to the test. I can see it on his face that I've done something unfair on this part while he's playing it. And what that is the first trumpet, between the first and second page, they have to play a stretch of 35 bars with no substantial rest in the middle of it in that high range that we talked about. It's unfair, and it's not something that I should be asking a lead trumpeter to do. I hope that helped. Keep those things in mind when you're writing your trumpet parts, and hopefully your trumpet section can sound fantastic. I'm working on a really exciting lesson either for next week or the week after, so I hope you guys hit subscribe and don't miss it. Until then, goodbye.